Welcome back to SplunkTalk, the podcast that's all Splunk and no junk. I am your host, Burch.
I'm Hal.
And we have a special guest today, Robin Berry.
Hi.
Hello, Robin. How are you?
Hello, Robin. Thanks for joining us.
You know, I'm pretty excited to be here.
You are.
I want to just say, you were like, oh, it's just a podcast. And like, I show up here at the Splunk studio, I'm like, this is the real deal.
It's the real deal, yeah. We get excited because this is a hobby. This is a side passion
project
of us, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a podcast for us. And then you get to Vegas, and it's Vegas. It's real, it's big.
It's like amped up.
All this great support from marketing with the studio. It's pretty amazing.
Nice.
It's exciting.
So welcome to our show.
Yeah, thank you.
We know that you work on like the domain of emerging technologies. One of the things we always like to do when we have a guest is to go over what we stupidly call your orange story, which I once mispronounced origin story as orange story. So yeah, we'd love to hear how you got to this desk today.
Okay, well, I want to take us back a little bit to when I grew up. So. Okay. I was pretty joyful, happy kid, loved to explore, and my early years were in Ohio.
Oh.
And when I turned 10, my parents told my two brothers and myself, like, hey, we're moving to New Jersey.
Okay.
And unlike other kids, I was like, this is gonna be great.
Oh,
I'm gonna have friends in 2 locations.
Like
I'm loving it. Friends plus plus, right? And so I go to the first day of school at my new school.
Where in Jersey?
In northern New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. So I walk
like
into
Jersey City.
No,
actually,
that's by Manhattan.
No, I love that response. Thank you.
It was pretty far north. It's called Upper Saddle River.
Okay.
Oh.
So pretty close to the city. And so I walk into the classroom, the teacher introduces me to the class, and then she says, pick a place to sit. And the kids had clumped all their desks together into small groups. And all of a sudden I was like, whoa, this is like political.
The cliques were right.
Right,
here's one,
exactly.
I feel like I'm picturing the movie Mean Girls where she's like walking through the lunchroom and
It's like, I gotta pick the right group. Yeah. And so all of a sudden I was like, whoa, I was not prepared for this. And so I left feeling pretty uneasy about that situation. And I was like, maybe instead of just this happy-go-lucky thing, I should try to be a little proactive, do a little planning. And so thus was born Planner Girl.
Okay.
So she is my yang to my exploratory yin. And so she
And did you learn about Agile boards back then? No, okay.
No, I would say that was more recent.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I ended up doing from there, like Planner Girl, she's action-oriented. She loves to plan all the things to perfection, even though we know planning always goes out the window when reality hits, but at least we've planned.
Yeah.
And so fast forward, I get a degree in business management and learn about my love and passion about computers, writing code after that. And I ended up spending a lot of my time in the open source community. I loved it, like this petri dish of ideas and people. Anybody could get involved.
Yeah,
so
it's exciting.
I love it. It's very open, as it's aptly named. And so, but still, in that environment, there's quite a bit of chaos. So like Planner Girl's like stepping in. It's like, I'm not just gonna write code. I wanna make sure we deliver the best API documentation, that we're actually enabling developers to use this code and so on and so forth. And so I kind of brought that to what we do at Splunk today. And so I am a product leader in the platform organization. I lead an area called AI and strategic incubations. So that includes AI, includes the Edge Hub, Splunk AR, and Splunk Mobile. So it's a very exciting place to be, and I'm pretty thrilled to be here at Splunk.
I want to hear about all of those things, but after 2 items.
Right.
Number 1, what was the job title you shared? It was
AI.
Technically, Senior Director of Product Management is my official title.
Oh, what were the words that you used before?
Oh, AI and Strategic Incubations.
Okay, I couldn't help but connect the Petri dish with incubation. That was delightful.
Yeah.
But more interesting, could you go back to the part about your degree?
Yeah.
Or what did you get a Are you not a traditionally technical
I do
trained
not have
person?
a computer science degree.
Go on.
So, when I was in school,
I only flunked out twice, for the record.
Really?
As a comparison. How many times did you flunk out?
It felt like every day.
I set the bar way down here.
Yeah.
So
I feel bad
did you
for
complete
doing
college?
well.
I fill out some college field.
I had trouble in college, but grad school I matured a lot, and I was like
Okay.
one of top of the class kind of things. Yeah.
It works out in the end, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I went to, I became a adjunct professor at Emory University, so like I was like, it worked out at the end.
Wow.
But what was your path like?
Yeah.
well, in school it was everywhere because I was one of those kids that came in kind of like, gee, I don't know what I'm gonna do, right? And so I came in focused on marine biology. I ended up in the music school. I played piano as a kid, and but the music program there
You have
was
attention issues. I appreciate that.
What's that?
You have attention issues. I appreciate that.
Well, I think I was pretty active, and
Yeah.
I just did a
Yeah.
lot as a
Okay,
kid.
awesome.
And so when I was in college, I was like, well, I'm not going to get too picky too fast, right? And I did glance at the computer science program in the school, and I was like, I don't know, maybe, but there wasn't a lot of push. It's not like anyone pushed me away, but no one kind of like pushed me toward a more technical degree. And so
Well, what was your passion at the time? What led? I mean, music was probably one.
music was a passion, and the environment. So I was very focused on environmental protection. I joined the student environmental organization there. We ran all sorts of programs like we got the cafeterias to stop using, well, they still use styrofoam cups, but you could bring in your own mug and they would fill it
Oh.
with Coke, water, whatever
Yeah.
you wanted, right? And it was months of negotiating because
And that's where
Well, you're fighting up against big styrofoam there.
yeah, and I mean, it was great. They figured out they could make it happen,
Yeah.
and so it was great to implement a real program like that made a difference.
So you ended up what was your actual degree? And
Well,
if you don't
it's
mind
in
saying.
business administration and management.
Okay.
So, and that happened because I wanted to get done with school. I was like, I'm done messing around. I'm going to get out as fast as I can. And I had a desire to kind of move into running my own business. I was like imagining a future state there. And I was like, that could be something that happens. Having a business degree will help. So that's where I got my degree. And then I landed my first jobs at a legal law firm, at consulting agencies that did like environmental consultation. And I learned a ton about chemistry and all of these things, but I was always the one fixing the computer problems.
Oh, interesting.
And that just kept growing,
Came
and I
back
started,
around.
and I became like this like Microsoft Power user, and then I was like, I'm bored, I want to do more. And I met a couple C++ programmers, and they're like, you got the brain for writing code. I was like, okay. So like I had this Texas Instrument laptop, it was like this thick, and it had Windows something terrible on it, and I just threw it out and I put an open source Linux distro on it.
Do
And
you recall which distro?
Caldera, Open
Okay.
Caldera or something like that.
Her story checks out.
Yeah, and I
Slackware.
learned.
What was yours first?
Well,
My first PC.
No, your first Linux distro.
yeah.
Oh, well, let's
Okay,
not.
next topic.
Yeah, next topic.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
It was pretty late. It was CentOS on like virtual boxes before like Docker was easy to run. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's fine.
nice.
It's fine.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm a Windows guy.
Windows has come a long way.
It has come a long way
I'm
since I
also a
started on.
Windows guy.
Actually, I'm an OS2 and OS2 Warp guy originally. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So that's what you fell into technology, but sort of just following the fun.
Yeah, exactly. And happened to meet the right kinds of programmers who opened the idea to like the world of Linux and therefore open source. So then I started to understand some very important programming principles based on those kinds of backgrounds. So
And how
really
did
loved
you
it.
get to Splunk specifically?
So I was leading the engineering team at Rokana, which was acquired by Splunk in 2017. So I came through an acquisition, and I have had just
did I
such
not
an
know
amazing
that?
journey here.
Yeah.
Like Splunk
So you knew Thor and Mel.
Yeah, exactly. So I
okay.
worked with Thor and Mel and Eric Sammer and
Oh, yeah,
a
Sammer.
whole bunch of them. So, so joining Splunk, shepherding the team in, like that was a huge experience. Like what it means to be a startup, to be acquired, help the team kind of land safely.
So how big was Rakana at that time, roughly?
Well, the engineering team.
This big.
Exactly. Exactly.
Measured in cubits, please.
That's perfect. So, engineering team that joined Splunk was 16.
Okay.
And we just kind of got settled in, and but it wasn't long. Like, the team was so cool. Like they're like, oh, we're gonna use the Splunk color palette, and like redid the UI in a couple weeks, like a sprint, and I was like, oh my god, these guys, they're amazing. So and so on and so forth. Like they just kind of took to what was happening at Splunk, and I was really proud of the team. Like they just got settled in.
So
really
what would you
quickly.
say was one of the innovations or the strengths of what was done at Rakana, and how did that bring forward? Did you see some of those evolutions or impact that y'all were able to have in Splunk later?
I think one of the benefits of that acquisition was Splunk was really excited about stream processing at the time, and so that was one of the key factors I knew they were excited about. I think they were just really interested in the team itself too. The top talent on that team was amazing, and so to be able to bring them in and kind of give us a little extra power to move and improve how we're doing ingest was really important at the time, and still is today. I mean, you see something like Edge Processor, and that's like an evolution of how we do stream processing and in-time, real-time ingestion and things like that. So
let's talk about some of your first projects after the Rakana phase, after that acquisition.
Interesting roles that you've had here before you got to this one, and then we will finally talk about the cool
new
tech.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll try to keep it short. So I first was just leading the team, but it wasn't long before I was asked to kind of bring together everything we were doing around ingestion here at Splunk. So I think the group was called Data Availability at the time, and so that included all the technical add-ons, the forwarders, just everything that we were doing there. So that was huge, and I really loved working on that. That edge of Splunk. If we don't get that data in, what do we have? Like we've got to have it. So for me, it was a real passion to be able to focus on that. And then things grew from there. I for a while was leading the observability team. So that was also right after Signal Effects was acquired. And so I think, again, like having gone through that experience of going through an acquisition and helping another team land a much bigger team with existing products and a sales team, right? Like there was a lot going on there.
Oh, you're like, I've been on this journey, follow me.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they accepted my wisdom.
Yeah.
We don't know, but I think, I really loved working with that team. They really have, and still to this day.
And you were primarily, if I understand, on the engineering management and leadership side.
That's right.
Before moving into the product.
That's right. So I've been Senior Director of Engineering here at Splunk for most of my time, and then just recently moved into product management. And that came about, I think people make this shift and they kind of move from role to role, and I love that here at Splunk.
Oh, yeah.
I've met more and more people. They go from engineering, product management, they're out in sales, they come back, right? Like, that's so fantastic to be able to do that at a company like Splunk, just great people working here.
Yeah.
Great way to grow your career is to be at a growing company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So what were some of the changes that you found, and what's different in product than engineering? I mean, the principles of the things are different.
Let's talk about preparing for .conf, because like I had no idea. I was like, where did the product managers go as an engineering leader? Like, you just
because everyone just disappears as
well, they do, and they don't really disappear, but they're just hunkered down.
Yeah.
And a lot of what we're doing on the product management side is working with marketing, making sure we're pulling together all the awesome work our engineering teams have done and present in a way that's authentic for for the whole audience, and then pulling all these sessions together and so on. So I've learned now just what the undertaking is from the product management perspective, and I loved it. Like it's fast paced, and then you get to kind of see it all arrive and happen, and that part's really exciting.
So let's talk about if there's anything interesting that you work on today.
There's this little thing we were talking about.
This has the plastic covering if the glare looks unflattering.
Maybe we can show the box.
Yeah.
Is that better?
So this is the Edge Hub.
It's the Splunk Edge Hub, and this is pretty exciting. And I think what customers might think about here is like, gee, do I really need something like this? I don't know. But if you were really trying to think about understanding your physical environment and how that might relate to data you already have in Splunk, like you could start doing that kind of correlation. So that's why one of our...
And that's like the power, that was my aha moment for Splunk years ago, was like, I can now correlate otherwise disparate data.
Right.
Things that, and I think I've talked with you before about like, imagine an assembly line, and every day you don't notice it, but over a massive data set, you start to see that around noon, I'm making something up, but like around noon, the yield isn't as good. And you wouldn't have known that day in and day out, but when you look at over a larger data set over, you start to, and then, well, why is that happening? And you have something like Edge Hub that's picking up vibration, and it turns out, oh, that's when the supply trucks are coming in. And so the vibration generated by unloading all the raw materials into the floor
the yield, the imperfections
is actually causing more imperfections on the assembly line. And like these are the kind of things that you can't do when you're just looking at the assembly line. But when you have large data set over massive scale and correlating it with things you could never connect it to, like to me, that's awesome.
I am pretty excited about that aspect of it. And so whether you're thinking about a factory floor or your data center and understanding what's the temperature, what's the humidity, and that, right, and just kind of helping all of our Splunk users really figure out how to solve whatever is coming at them and do it quickly and on the edge. So, this is also on your factory floor, so you're walking right up and you can see what's happening. I mean, I loved Joel's demo yesterday, and they're like showing it on the big screen, so it's just really cool that you can get it instantaneously, but then also do the kind of analytics work.
So we've never done hardware before. What are some of the learnings that you kind of found that the team had to, come to grasp with, over that time period? We've been making software for 20 years.
Yeah.
And T-shirts for 20 years.
It's a kind of hardware.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I think one of the things that's great about the Edge Hub team is they had that experience already. So they already knew the amount of work it took to work with vendors and make sure they were doing the proper work. The actual
like those little logos on the back that's printed on the device, there's some FCC label or whatever, those types of things.
Yeah,
that involves months and months of work.
Right.
To get that label that lets you ship the thing.
Yep. So, and we're making sure that the Splunk logo is correct and all of those aspects. So there's a lot of work we're doing in overseeing it, but the actual manufacturing is done by a separate company. So, so we're really here to focus.
How strategic. No, I mean, that's like clever, right? Like that's not our core competency.
Exactly.
So another company is going to do that. Yeah, that's smart.
You got it. Yeah. Thanks, Burch. You said better than
Sorry,
I could.
I'm like thinking out loud.
That was great. So we really focus on the fact that, people can start using Splunk right away. They can buy, one or as many devices as they feel they need to get things set up correctly and work with our partners to do it. So it's a really interesting venture for Splunk, and I think we're seeing a ton of excitement. And I don't know if you all get to the pavilion, there's an Edge Hub Central location, and I do want to make...
Really? I'm surprised we didn't just call it the Edge Hub.
Burch, I'm not in charge of the naming of things. No, but Edge Hub Central is actually the name of the company where you can do the purchasing. So
cool.
Partners will go in, they'll say, I need to purchase 50 devices, and take care of that for our customers, get it installed and do the work, so it gets up and running quickly. But over there, I do recommend checking out what the partners are showcasing as their solutions. And we have a special demo using Splunk AR and the Edge Hub. So if you're really curious,
I love that one.
Yeah, you can. Did you try it? I mean, I was there last night. It was so
I
much
only
fun.
know what happened back in January. So capabilities since January, I have no clue. So I'm going to be surprised by what they've done since.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. So so Edge Hub's doing just great
So
work.
you've got the AR team, you have the Edge Hub team.
That's right.
The product responsibility, and what else? You've got more in your portfolio.
Well,
AI
right.
and ML.
So it's AI and ML. So think machine learning toolkit, the Splunk AI assistant that Min was talking about today and Faya showed in more detail, the anomaly detection app. So there's a bunch of work going on there. And then, I'm also thrilled about the machine learning team because we're partnering with security and observability too. So we have these apps so people can get that experience right away or try it out, like the anomaly detection app. You don't have to be a data scientist. It's like click some buttons and like it starts working. So that, I love making it easy for people to get started and start to realize like, okay, like now what am I I could go further with this. And so it gives them a chance to start figuring out how to use these tools to solve their problems. But we're also integrating across the whole portfolio. And I think that's what really matters here. We don't want it to be just off on the side. We want it to just make everybody's day-to-day interactions easier, get to the answer faster, right? Help them move and take action more quickly, things like that.
In the broadcast just before you joined, we were talking about AI, AI specifically, but what you're saying is true for ML as well. Like
Yeah.
I was saying, it kind of.
We talked about the Terminator.
Yeah,
We're all
we
going to
talked
die.
about- I was saying, in my mind, it's like we're democratizing some of these more complex things, so less technical people can get these very otherwise technical answers and value out of the product, which reminded Hal of our former company mission,
Yeah.
of making machine data usable, accessible, and valuable to everyone. And it's just really intriguing. Like we've had the app for machine learning for a while, right? And people could do some incredible things with that. And the more that the PhD, it doesn't have to be the sole person to implement, and the more we're seeing like, an average user can use these features to get insights. It's really exciting.
It really is, and that's what I always wanted for Splunk and Splunk's customers. It's like, it's a complex world out there, so what can we do to make it a little bit easier for them, right? Just, all the, whatever the number of threats and vulnerabilities that are out there, anything we can do to kind of make it just a little bit simpler, I think is the right direction for us to go.
So maybe
yeah.
we could kind of finish on some of the directional things that the team are going to be working on in terms of, we heard Min talk about the principles. Let's see, human in the middle, and we had two others, embracing, kind of extending the platform, and I think open and extensible. I think those are the principles that I recall.
Yep, pretty close. There was the domain specific.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so what do any of those mean for you, and how's that going to shape things going forward?
Well, before we go there, I do just want to touch on mobile, just in case.
Sure.
People, might not be thinking about it, but it's just as essential. And I'm thrilled that, you can still, you need to have easy access to your dashboards or get an alert, on your phone, and then kind of get to the computer and, take action. So that is something that's available for all of our customers today. So really hope that they take advantage of that, along with everything else that we're offering. But for the future here, and what I think really matters of those principles, the number one is making sure when we're implementing something like generative AI, we're doing it in a very safe way. So governance.
We were just talking about that. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Data provenance, all of those things that are essential, and we know our customers care so deeply about privacy and compliance on all of those things. So we want to make sure we're doing it right. And then the human in the loop, I think, is just essential as well. So we're not here to try and take decisions away. It's more like, let's just help you, get you to the right set of recommendations.
I mean, it's hard to fully staff out your SOC with the analysts you need for the size of your business. Everyone is always stressed about the workload and all the alerts and dealing with these things. So there's a lot we could do there.
I think so. And I mean, I hope that the way people can see this in a positive light is something like generative AI could help someone who's new to the SOC get up and running, right? Where a more experienced person is now kind of has more opportunity to sit back, look at the strategic decisions they need to be making, not always fighting the fires, right? So we kind of need both of those things so that these businesses can be successful.
I always think about it like, and it's a similar paradigm to like, oh, technology is coming and it's gonna automate some things that we do, and like, sure, and now you can move up the value stack and like provide more of that beautiful brain, and instead of having your time be consumed by some things that aren't adding as rich of a value for you. Yeah.
Yeah, and this isn't new, right? This has been happening since, I don't know, fire, farming, like
No,
this
it's
is
true.
This
And
is just a journey that we're on as a human race.
Absolutely. And Burch, as you were saying that, it just brought me back to why I started writing code in the first place. I was tired of repeating things.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh my God, like someone automate this, right?
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I guess I'll
that's
do
someone's
it.
me.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
So
Feel
that's what it comes down to. I think we have brains that can do a ton, and so if we can free up some space in our own creativity, like, wow, I love doing that.
Are there any particular talks or things happening here at Conf that you want to highlight, encourage people to go, whether they're here on site or they're going to catch replays later?
For sure. I don't know that I'll remember their official names.
That's fine.
But definitely I would catch, there are a couple sessions on the Edge Hub, so they'll be kind of showing how it's used in like very specific use cases, so I'd take a look for those. And then we have one on Machine Learning Toolkit, which our most recent release had this new capability where you can actually import your own data model, so you could train outside of Splunk but then deploy in Splunk. And so just so much going on there. So there's, I love everything the team's working on, so I don't want to say I have favorites, but check them all out. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm happy.
I'm very
glad
happy.
we
Oh,
had
good,
the
me
chance to
too.
spend time with you.
Yeah, this is wonderful. Well, Robin, thank you very much. Hal, thank you very much.
Oh, I appreciate it. Anytime, man.
Yeah.
Got you.
No, I'm excited to get out there and go check out all the stuff at the pavilion. Go check out some of the sessions that we talked about. Again, there's going to be more content on this site, conf.splunk.com.
Don't forget, we do a podcast also.
We also do a podcast, and so we will be back on Thursday to review along with the keynote that closes the event.
Yep.
And then we will continue Splunk talking throughout the year like we normally do. So with that, thank you all and have a wonderful conf.